Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy B Nice, also known as FNP Trades. I'm coming to you guys today with another video. Today we're going to talk about the SPY QQQ, SPX, and some of the trades that we took today on August 6th, 2025. So without further ado, let's get into it. So yesterday when I was looking at the charts, I was totally expecting us to kind of gap down just based on like the price action. So we had a sell-off on Tuesday. We had a pullback to the clouds, and then we had a little bit more of a sell-off. However, as we can see, we have this cloud right here that was support. We did touch it a couple of times, and then I guess we had some bullish earnings that had price kind of gap up a little bit. So as you can see, when we opened the day, SPY had a little bit of a gap to the upside. So with that being said, whenever there's a gap, we kind of expect for it to kind of fill to the inside. So during the pre-market, we gapped up, and then we slowly started to try to kind of fill that hole. And I was kind of expecting us to kind of go back down and test this low right here where the clouds were, but we never got to that point. So we had some very bullish tickers. Tesla was one of them. Tesla was very bullish today, and then also Apple was another bullish name. And this was because Apple wasn't affected by the tariffs in India. So because Apple wasn't going to be affected by those tariffs, we seen that Apple just started to regain its bullishness and started to move its way up. So Apple literally was the reason why SPX and SPY were just moving in an upward trajectory today, because if Apple is one of the biggest companies in the world, and it's the one that's the most heavily weighed in the S&P 500, is like the #1 company. So because of that, Apple itself held the market up and held the market in a bullish structure. So because of Apple, this is why we had this crazy move on SPX and SPY. So going back to SPX and SPY, we can see they both kind of line up the same. The way I look at one is how I look at the other. If I want to, I'm just going to clear these drawings. So as we can see, like if you follow my cursor, they pretty much mimic each other. So a lot of the times, because SPX doesn't have a pre-market or a after hours, I just look at SPY and see what SPY is doing, and that kind of helps me. With my analysis of what SPX is going to do. As you know, for people who trade SPX is very violent. These moves, these $2 to $3 moves on SPY could be $10 to $15 to $20 moves on SPX. If you're right on SPX, you can make a lot of money. If you're wrong, then you can get cooked. So at the open, I was kind of looking at the market. I didn't really signal anything just because I thought that we were going to go down, so I did swing some puts, which I got clapped on. But as we can see, SPY during the morning, we were riding the EMA. We sold off, reclaimed the EMA, sold off again, and then after that 10 a.m. Fake out to the downside, they probably trapped a lot of bullish people on this candle right here. We had buyers step in and wake us up, and then we reclaimed the 512s. Once we reclaimed the 512s here, we were bullish with a target of pre-market high right here. So once we cross over pre-market high, that is our confirmation that we are going to be bullish, and we could potentially have an all-day long setup. So our pre-market high on SPY was 631.30. So once we crossed over that at about 10:20 a.m. Well, actually, it was probably on this 10:10 candle or 11:10 candle if you're on Eastern time. Once we crossed over that, we could have seen that we were going to continue to go up. Down here would have been the entry for this, because we did, like I said, we pushed up, came down, and then reclaimed the clouds. Once we reclaimed all of these EMAs right here, we have like the hourly, we have the 200, we have the 3450, and the 512. Once price got back over all three of those, there's no reason to be trying to short this. So And the same thing over here with SPX. So we can literally look at both of these and kind of get the same move, because we really did get the same move because they move identical if you look at the candlesticks. So once we reclaim the 512, this is a risky entry because we don't have confirmation of crossing over the pre-market high, but we knew that we were gonna go higher. So you're probably wondering, what is our target? Well, our target is going to be the previous day high, which is this area right here. So we knew we had the high of the previous day was right here, and then the pre-market high for the previous day was up here. And as you can see, once price started to push up, that's where we got to. We literally pushed all the way up into that point by the end of the day. If you were in calls from the bottom down here, you got paid greatly. Same thing with SPX. We knew that this was our previous day high. Once we crossed that, you know, that's your target. And then for later in the week, if we don't have some type of sell off, our next target is going to be 635 on SPY. And then for SPX, I can get you the target really quick. We're going to go from this. Sorry. Where is it? Sorry, this was a little tricky. Okay. So where's our low for today? Our low to our high. So realistically, we could potentially get 63.78. But we'll likely pull back to this area before we get that because it looks like we were kind of pulling back before close. But if we're looking at SPY, looks like SPY wants to kind of start heading back up towards that way. So that's a $2 move on SPY and about a $25 move on SPX from this high up there. So because they're almost identical. So that is that trade. So let's go into one of the trades that I called out in the server. I believe I called out Hinge. I was already in the play, but Hinge was looking very bullish today. We had a lot of momentum after earnings. So they had earnings, they beat their earnings, and they did pretty well. So in the pre-market, or after hours, once they released earnings, they definitely had a beat. So we went up, and then we had a pullback, but we held the clouds here. And so during the entire pre-market, we started to kind of move ourselves up. And then as you can see right here, we started to get that bullish momentum. And I had a trigger right here for over 58.81. If we were to cross that, then we were going to go up. My TP was $60 on this. So we moved up, and as you can see, that ticker paid me pretty well. I don't even know what percentage that was. I don't even recall, but we definitely got paid. I diamond handed the mess out of this one. I was in this play for a hot little minute, and then I believe they delayed their earnings for a little bit, and then they released them yesterday, and this is kind of what we got off of that. So I was very happy with the results of that trade, and then so. That was one trade that I called out. I do want to go back and revisit SPX because there was a moment where I thought that we were going to break down, and that was in this area right here. So the way that my system works is once we break down below the cloud, we become bearish, and you don't necessarily have to wait for a retest, but sometimes it would be beneficial to wait for a retest as in today. So we had all of this momentum going up, and then we were away from the clouds, and then we started to kind of pull back towards it. So this candle right here was the candle that I saw. We broke the 9 EMA, and then we were heading down and to drop below the cloud. So I entered puts right here, and then we got wicked up. And then we started to kind of make a move up here. And I had a stop loss of negative 35%. So I just got out of the trade right there. I went small size on that trade, but I didn't want to hold it and risk it going higher towards previous day high. So what I did was I cut the trade, and I set an alert for a cross of this low right here of this candle. If we would have got the low of that candle, then I would have kind of played it down to where the cloud was prior to these candles being made. But we never got that. We never got that break of that low. We did break the cloud here, but I wasn't convinced that we were going to go down, so I just stayed out of the trade and looked for something else. So this was one of the misses I had today. Nothing I can do about it. The system says once we break the cloud to short, and once we cross back over to 512, I got out of the trade with a small loss. So the name of the game is preserve your capital, respect your money. If you can respect the money that you have, you'll be good. And then here's that alert right here. I did say I'm getting in the 63.25 puts. I got in at 3:15, and that was called out at 12:47 Eastern time. And then I was looking for a break at 63.37.82. I said if we get that break, then we'll likely flush to the cloud below. So as you can see, the EMA was all the way down here by this Fibonacci level, which is at about 63.26.89. So I was kind of hoping that we were gonna push down to that, and then I triggered that. I said that I got stopped out, and then like I said, I was looking to re-enter on the break of the 9 EMA again. And you know, part of having a system is respecting your rules and your stop loss. Respect your money and they respect you. And then we got into this Mara play right here. Mara $16 call. 8.8 at 29 cents. So let's look at Mara. We're looking at Mara right here. All right, so I called it out at 1:36 Eastern time, so it'll be this 12:30 candle right here. So what I'm looking for is cloud confluence right here. So we were bearish yesterday, and then during the after hours we started to curl and become bullish, but we were still under this cloud right here. And so because we're under the cloud, that makes me worried that we're gonna get to it and reject. And as you can see, once we opened, we hit the cloud and rejected and kind of chopped around for a little bit until we started to get that bullish momentum. So this right here would have been, I would say, like a C minus, C plus long right here, just because we're still under the cloud. So that was a reason why I wouldn't take it right here. So as you can see, we peaked above this cloud and then had a pullback on this candle right here, and then that's when we started to make some moves. So once we cleared this cloud right here, I alerted, hey, I'm getting in these Mars $16 calls for Friday at 29 cents. And so once we got into that, we started to have a move. We pushed all the way up to $16.10. So these contracts instantly went into the money, and I believe we were up like 40-50% on these, which was amazing. And honestly, I still think that we can get to 1650 because this cloud up here is going to act like a magnet for price. So you know, we hit a level right here. So how do I know that this is like a resistance level? So what I do is I'll just draw a line right here, and then I'll just kind of go back and see what was going on at that level. And as we can see right here, this was a level where price where we sold off at a previous time. So this was a level of interest, and then these right here were also levels of interest because this was a level that we hit and sold off at again. We hit and sold off at again, and then we tested it here, sold off, came back up, tested again, and then kind of sold off. And so what I'm kind of hoping for is by going into Friday, I'm hoping that this plays out by Friday. I'm hoping that we try to go back, we hit it, pull back, and then go back up to this cloud right here. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for on Mara, but we'll see. If Bitcoin starts to get bullish, then we should get that move. We should get that move, and then we'll be good. As we can see, that Bitcoin is definitely pushing up. So if Bitcoin continues to push back into this resistance, then we'll do the same thing. And just look at this. I just want to show you guys this as well. Like, look at this cloud right here is a higher time period resistance, and look at how Bitcoin just ran all the way up to that cloud, and once it got to that cloud, it pushed price right back down into this 3450 cloud. So don't underestimate the power of these higher time period EMAs, because they're the ones that will let you know where your support and where your resistance is. So realistically with Bitcoin, if we don't push higher here, we could drop down to this 200 EMA before we get another move towards this higher cloud here. So just keep that in mind. And then let's see, was there another trade that I took? that I was looking at? I don't think so, but I know a few people were looking at Tesla. They took Tesla. This Tesla is a plus setup, one of those setups that you want to take in the morning. So as we can see, yesterday we kind of consolidated. Today we consolidated, and then we had news. I believe there was some news about Tesla wanting to. I forgot what the news was, but it was definitely bullish for Tesla. I think it had to do something with like their new AI and new cameras or something like that they were putting in their cars. But anyways, with that news that came out, we could see that buyers started to kind of step in, and they were very happy with that news, and that news was bullish for Tesla. So we started to push up. So this is one of those moves where, like, if you see it at the very open, we went down, then hold down here. We tested the pre-market low, rejected the pre-market low, recovered over the clouds, and then we had an all-day push. And this is what an A plus setup looks like, because we had a push, and then at 10 a.m. we had a little bit of a pullback to the clouds here. Once we pulled back to the clouds, we had a bull flag, and we flagged up, and we held the clouds until right here. This would have been your exit, and then you would have been able to get back in right here and rode it up until the end of the day. So that was Tesla, and that's the analysis of Tesla. And then I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I wanted to go over. Oh, HIMS. We took HIMS puts. Okay, so HIMS at the open, I alerted these HIMS puts. It wasn't the open, but it was one of those that I had seen. And let's see, where is it at? I apologize. All right, so this was my early morning play. I didn't really feel comfortable getting into anything else, and plus other analysts, they were alerting different things. So around, what was it, the 10 o'clock, so 11, almost at 11 o'clock, which would be this candle right here. I had this level drawn out right here. I was actually on the hourly when I was looking at this. So we were already kind of extended, but I drew this level right here, and I was like, if we break below this, then we'll go lower. And so kind of what I was seeing was we had a pull back up to the cloud, and then it rejected the cloud and kind of pushed here. And once we broke below this level, I alerted for the puts, and we had looks like a $2 move to the downside, and a lot of people had like 60% on this from that entry. And honestly, with it on the higher time period, we're definitely still bearish. We could get as low as, I would say, 47.09, but this is one of those areas. We have an order block right here that we could potentially tap into. And then once we tap that, then we could kind of bounce. But A plus short right here, we're under every EMA cloud. We're rejecting the 9 EMA. So our next move would be to go down and tap this level of this demand zone before we go higher. So just something that I'm looking into to kind of see what we're gonna do, and hopefully that kind of plays out. So if you guys are new here, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you guys are looking into for this week. And I do appreciate you guys for watching this video. Stay safe out there, and yeah, have a good one.